Hi everyone, my name is Carl and I'm coming to you live from my garden. I've been asked by the Epic Something team to bring you some photography tuition to help you stay creative during this time as we all stay at home. So what's the plan? Well, the plan really is to help you to get creative over this time, but with the skills of photography that we want to develop. So we're going to be looking at various different tasks and skill sets that's going to help you to not only be able to see images better, but capture them better on your smartphone or digital SLR or whatever camera you have available to you. So before we go any further, let me take you on a visual tour around my humble garden. None of us know how long we're going to be in this stay-at-home mode, do we? And there's many things we could discuss and teach about photography over the next however many weeks. But what I'm going to do today is go back to one of the basics, one of the fundamentals of photography, and that is the art of composition. Well, forgive me for having to bring you indoors, but as you know, everybody's staying at home and people on this lovely day are out in their gardens, and I don't think I was going to be able to record any more video for you without a lot of other noises coming into the film. So before we go any further about composition, I just wanted to talk about the actual gear we're going to be using. Most of us are going to be using something like a smartphone, an iPhone, for taking our photography most of the time. And the app that we're going to be using on our phone is just going to be the native app. You might have already downloaded an app which you use for photography, but for the sake of today, just going to be using the basic app. So on the iPhone, it simply is just pressing the camera and then the camera opens up. Once you've got your camera app open, obviously there are two main ways in which you can hold the camera. You can hold your camera like this in what we call landscape mode, or you can hold it that way, what we call portrait mode. And most of us will know that the way that we trigger or take an actual photo is by pressing the main circular button, usually there. But you can also take your pictures by pressing the volumes up and down buttons on most cameras. That will also take photos. That's actually a good way to take a photo with your camera, because you can then hold it with two hands a bit more firmly and then just use your thumb to activate the button, or if you're this way up, you can just use your finger to activate the buttons to take the photos. Instead of trying to get near plants and waving around and then trying to find the button, it's just a bit more stable if you hold it with two hands and press the volume buttons. Once you've got your picture in view, what you can then do is tap the screen, press and hold, and it'll give you an exposure lock, and then you can move your finger down or up to brighten or darken the image. If you haven't got an iPhone, the way that this often works is if you press on the darkest part of the image, it will brighten the image, and if you press on the brightest part of the image, it will darken the image. So let's talk about composition. What is composition? Composition really is about viewing a scene that you have before you. So in my situation, it's going to be my garden. And then I'm looking for a particular subject, something that stands out. Something that I'm going to say, this is the star of the show. This is going to be the star of the image that I'm about to take. So as I was walking around my garden earlier, I was particularly drawn to the bunch of tulips. The orange and red tulips I think are really striking. And that's going to be my star of the show. Once I've selected my scene and now found my subject, my star, I'm now going to ask the question, what can I do to make the star increase on its visual impact? How can I make that star really shine out from what's around it? Hopefully now I'm able to show you just a little video of me looking around my scene, finding my subject, and then showing you how I'm particularly drawn and what I'm particularly drawn to about this particular star. So here's my scene of tulips, and I'm now going to try and find which ones I think look most attractive. And what I'm looking for, is there one that I can really pull apart from the rest? Maybe it's one that looks more vibrant, one that's got a better shape, one that's got a better texture, one that's got a better overall appearance. If I look at these ones, I can see they've already started to wilt a little bit. So this bunch here are looking pretty dynamic, and these are the ones that I'm going to be working with. So as we look at the tulips, what we can now see is that light itself has kind of selected one to be the star of the show. Imagine a person on stage and the spotlight has just hit them, and it's now saying, right, this is the one that's the star of the show, so this is the one I'm going to be working with. Now I'm using a video camera, so I am really hampered by the orientation in which I can take a picture. everything has to be in landscape mode, but if I was to take this picture, and I will do in a moment, I'll be taking it in portrait mode because I really want to show off the stem leading up to the lovely flower at the top and the bright vibrant colours that it's showing. So as I look at this bunch, yes, it's an okay picture, but here in the middle now is the one I want to be the star of the show. And the surrounding flowers are really competing for attention. So how can I change my angle or my position to make sure that the star really stands out from the rest? It's at this stage where, just because of what else is around it, I may have to make decisions about how I'm going to take this photo. I could try and pull one away from the rest, just to isolate it and kind of do something a bit like that. Or I could change my angles. And work around it. And also I want to be thinking about composition and the rule of thirds, which we'll come on to in a moment. Now this is looking pretty good, and I'd probably take a photo of this here and see about working on that a little bit more. But also I just want to see what it looks like by looking straight into the very top. And again, just moving around slightly, I can change the distracting backgrounds. And I'll probably be working on trying to find a position where this looks best compositionally. What you're seeing now is just a selection of photos that I've taken with my iPhone, working around the image, using the principles that I've already said, making sure that I'm controlling the exposure so the background's not too bright compared to the nicely lit foreground, and just changing my angles, going from further out to finally kind of zooming in for real close-up to see the lovely textures of the petals. So let's just remind ourselves of the 7 points of composition that we've been looking at today. The last one that we have there in the list in composition is where in the frame should I best place my star. And in photography there are different ways that we can compose our image. Some things that reflect symmetry, others that have leading lines, but the one we're looking at today is really the most common one, and that's called the rule of thirds. All smartphones and even most professional cameras have this kind of grid line set up in its screen. If you can't see it on your phone, then go to your settings either on the camera, or if you're on an iPhone in the settings tab, go onto your camera icon, and then within the settings you can see show grid. Click on that so it's on. And the main idea with this grid system is to see those circles where those intersecting lines are as hotspots. And usually when the star of the show is placed on one of those hotspots, it seems to have a more attractive appeal to the viewer's eye. As you can see in this image, the photographer has placed the flower in that top right hotspot. He's also placed it to cover the sun that really shows the beauty in the petals of this flower. It's a great shot. But remember, even though this is called the rule of thirds, they are mere guidelines. They do work most of the time, but they won't work every time, and like all rules, they are there to be bent or broken when other ways can bring better results. Well, I hope that's been a really helpful tuition for you, and I hope you can now get out in your gardens or start getting your cameras out and taking some even better pictures than you have done before. And don't forget to look into the blurb below and see where you can post those pictures, and then Alistair and I will be giving some constructive criticism and helpful guides so you can get out and take even better photos than you have done already. Don't forget to keep a lookout for new tutorials that will be coming out, where we'll be looking at other areas of photography. Until then, this has been Carl. Don't forget to stay at home and stay well. Bye.